Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show, Full Val Mode. Tonight's episode drives straight into one of the most controversial battles in Arkansas politics, the fight for paper ballot and election transparency. Former Army Sergeant Bryan Norris joins me to talk not only about his push for hand-marked, hand-counted ballots, but also about his campaign for Arkansas Secretary of State. So he alleges that the Arkansas Association of Counties, a 501c3 organization, coordinated with county clerks to block local citizen-led paper ballot petitions before they were even submitted. An act that, if proven true, could cross serious legal lines. And he found all this out when he FOIA'd some emails regarding an Independence County where the initiative he submitted was denied. Very interesting stuff that we got into, so you'll want to stay tuned to this uninterrupted podcast with him. And we also break down his broader warning about election integrity, like how states are leasing their voting systems from private vendors like ES&S, who keep their software and source code hidden from public view, and also we don't even know who owns that. So this episode is about power transparency and who truly controls the vote, the people or the system built to manage them. Hey everyone, welcome to Full Val Mode. I'm Val Emmons, your host, and I have with me today Bryan Norris, who is right now a candidate for Secretary of State of Arkansas. Bryan, you want to introduce yourself to everyone?
I'm just Bryan Norris, just a regular old Arkansan that served his country for a little while, and in the United States Army, retired United States Army First Sergeant, and now I'm back home and trying to continue to serve.
I saw that on your resume. Let's get into this whole thing. The reason that I wanted to talk to you is basically, what's your thoughts on the Democrats suing Sarah Huckabee Sanders and Cole Jester for what they've done in pushing back these elections for, is it District 70? And then Gary Stubblefield, who passed away, his district as well, for over 150 days.
I think it's very unfortunate. One of the primary responsibilities of government is to ensure that the people are represented, full stop. And there's no justification for pushing it out that far. I mean, the law says 150 days, right? That's what the judge ordered. But she could make the argument like, we don't want the added expense. And so instead of doing it in February or whenever that would land on for the 150 days, we'll do it during the primary, which we already got to run for the entire state. And we'll do it then. Like that could have been an argument. There's no good argument, no justification for pushing it out 200 and something days. Other than it appears, and one would suspect, that they anticipate whoever is going to fill the late Senator Stubblefield's position and House District 70's position, because there's 2 seats that are involved in the lawsuit, and whoever would fill those seats would vote no against the prison.
Right. And the prison give everyone a little bit of, I know everyone knows about the prison, but just go ahead and give everyone a background about the prison.
Well, all I know, I'm not in Franklin County. I'm not from the area. I've gotten to know some of the people down there, and they're amazing people. I'm kind of glad I got to meet them this way, even though the circumstances were not the best. But from what I understand of it, the governor wanted to set up a prison in Arkansas, and the site selected was in Franklin County. The residents of Franklin County, the elected representatives of Franklin County, said, there's no way you can put a prison here. You don't have the available workforce. That's 1. There's no water to supply the prison. That's 2. And the terrain is not where you're wanting to put it. The terrain is not conducive to an operation like that. So despite all the pushback and this legislation being denied, I think it was 5 times this previous legislative session. After the legislative session, the governor went ahead and used some available funds of hers to procure the land. So basically committing the state to this project. After that, the company, I think, that was awarded the grant to facilitate the prison or build the prison is out of California. And one of the things that stick out to me about that is the governor signed and was very heavy on an anti-DEI law in Arkansas that says um, state and municipal governments cannot do business with businesses that promote and champion DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion principles. Well, when you go to this company's website, the very first thing that pops up is a DEI marker. So that was in violation of her own push on that one. So that was pretty surprising. Out of California, the company's out of Southern California.
But do you think that would make a difference? I mean,
No, it doesn't make a
right.
difference. It's
No,
just
but I'm just saying, like,
it's
it
just
wouldn't make a difference if they changed companies even. Like, this whole thing, still people
no.
are against it.
People are against it, and there's what 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 I don't understand is there are so many other opportunities to achieve success for a prison, right? All of the arguments that the governor makes that we need more bed space, we're releasing too many violent criminals quickly, all of the good that's going to be accomplished with the larger prison could be accomplished with more good. Calico Rock has said they would gladly take it, and there's other locations throughout Arkansas that have kind of begged to have this facility for the income streams and everything else that it'll bring
So what
in.
do you think? Why do you suspect, or what's the word on the street, the conspiracy theory of why this county?
I honestly don't know. When things happen like this, everyone always says follow the money. And I don't know where that money leaves. I haven't dug into it. I don't know who owns the land. I don't know any kind of connections that could be with this company in California. I don't know any of that, but there has to be more to this than we know and have been made aware of. And I hope that one day we find out all of it.
Yeah, we kind of got in a rabbit hole there. Sorry.
No worries.
So, Brian, how in the heck did one of the most powerful offices in the state of Arkansas turn into a revolving door of this controversy? Like, we haven't seen this kind of controversy since the Jeremy Hutchinson stuff or Martha Schaffner. Like, this is crazy. Like, the lawsuits, the ethic complaints, the paper ballot issue. What is going on here?
I wish I knew. When I retired from the Army, me and my wife and family were excited that our governor was going to be Sarah Sanders. Yeah, I mean, we were excited. My family went to go and listen to her speak at a couple events while I was still closing out over in Europe. We were genuinely excited, and I don't just casually say this. It's true. It's been one of the biggest disappointments.
That's the pulse. That's what I'm hearing from everybody. Like, everybody that
Yeah,
voted for her, and I'm not talking about everyone's like, "Oh, but, Democrat." I'm not talking about Democrats. I'm talking about Republicans.
oh yeah. I can tell you, someone that's been traveling all across the state. I've put over 18,000 miles on my vehicle thus far. The one common denominator is even in the Republican committees, the vast majority of people are very frustrated and upset.
So what do you think? What do we do?
I, man, if I had that answer, I'd solve a whole lot of problems. I don't know.
Democrats now siding with the Republicans on an issue that they both know and everyone knows, yet she's just still determined to do how she's going to do. And that's not representative of the people, and that's her job to represent the people. So what do we do at that point?
I, I, I have no idea. There's some very crazy things that's come out of this entire thing, and when she ran out the gate and the whole podium issue that debacle, I was like, why is she wasting so much political capital on this? It just didn't make sense to me. But it was like she just didn't want to admit wrong at all, the possibility of being wrong,
And the
none of it.
GOP bailing her out like that? What?
Yeah, that too. But if she had just came out and said, you know what? I apologize. My thought process behind this is I represent Arkansas and I wanted the absolute best podium possible to be a representation and step up our game a little bit. That was my thought process on it. I shouldn't have spent $19,000 on a podium. It was wrong. We're going to make it right. I apologize to the people for this, but I at least wanted you to understand the why and my thought process behind it. People would have forgiven her and forgot about it within a few
But
days.
instead,
Like,
she didn't, and it appears like she was giving somebody money.
yeah, the whole Nixon effect, right? Like with Watergate, he didn't know anything about Watergate, but then he tried to cover it for his friends
hmm
afterwards.
It just looks like she's giving someone a contract, an overpriced contract, instead of, okay, I want us to have a good podium. No, it just looks like,
Yeah.
okay, her buddy owns this podium company or whatever, or somebody's buddy, and then you're giving them the contract and you're giving them taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely what it looked like. It was I don't get it. I don't understand. And then to see political capital being wasted again and again and again and
I
again
know.
over a multitude of issues. I just really don't understand it. I mean, I still believe that she could be one of the greatest governors in Arkansas
I think
history.
that time's passed for her, though.
I hope not.
I mean, I think that you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. I mean,
I hope.
that's where why that's where the pulse, like the pulse of the state to me is everyone's done with her. No one, everyone's like, we're not voting for her. I'm not voting for her. My family's not voting for her. So there's got to be somebody that runs against them. But now, so you're Secretary of State, you handle the elections, you get elected. What do you have to say about these hiked up fees that the Republican Party come up with? Not the whole, nobody voted on it, not the party itself, but to literally double the fees to inject yourself in a governor race, lieutenant governor race, like to $40,000, like for Senate? That's crazy.
It is. And it was the executive committee of the Republican Party, which I think is made up of multiple members. I think it's more than 10. I don't know the exact number. So that's who set the fees. And there was a small group in there that were advocating to not raise the fees again, because remember, they raised them also 2 years ago. And so they raised them 2 years ago, and then they raised them again, and they really jacked them up this time. The reality of it is by raising fees that high, you are limiting. We call it the incumbent protection plan, but you are seriously limiting the ability for the average Arkansan to run and participate in the process at all. And for me, what I think it looks like is they knew that trouble was on the horizon for the clique, and so you drastically limit the ability of the individuals that could challenge who's in there right now, and that guarantees you a job. It it and that's why we call it the incumbent protection plan. I think it definitely raises some legal issues, and I know there's a lawsuit going on about it. I don't know the status of that lawsuit, but I would like to see the state legislature come in and say, you know what, Republican Party, if this is what you guys want to do, we are no longer going to pay for the primaries in the state of Arkansas. You're not going to use taxpayer funds for them anymore because you are not representing the public by increasing these fees to this level. So your primaries are going to have to be run by your own organization, and you're going to have to foot the cost for it.
Right, because so here's the other options. If you don't have 40 grand to run against, say, Tom Cotton, if you don't have 40 grand, you can't raise 40 grand, and you're just a regular everyday Joe, your other option is to run as an independent, and you got to go out and get 10,000 signatures within a
Yeah.
certain amount of time, or you can run as a Democrat, even though you're not a Democrat, for only like what, $5,000 was it? Like,
I think for state senate it was 5,000. I think it was the same for governor. It was very, very small. And like me, my filing fee is $10,000, and I'm a grassroots candidate whose average donor is $12. So, plug for myself: if you want to make a contribution to assist me out, you can do so at BryanNorris.org, and there's a donate link there. Or you can message me on any of my social medias and anything, and we'll send you an address where you could send a check if you're so able to do so and inclined you want to. That'd be great.
but isn't that the only seats that they didn't change? And that's because
That
it's
is the
open. No, there's no incumbent in it.
Yeah, there was no incumbent in it, but
Because
there was
running for land commissioner.
Yeah, he's running for land commissioner, and I don't know why they didn't raise the fees on mine. Was the only one that wasn't raised at all, but I'm grateful because it's difficult to raise that amount of money.
And especially like your everyday person, like it's more of like a country club now at this point.
It is. It's not representative of the people at all, and I hope we get some changes because there's only one part. I mean, I'm more of a conservative than I am a Republican, but there's only one party that I can identify with in the political sphere, and that's the Republican
Now,
Party.
so let's talk about, this is just speculation, and this is just a question I want to pose to you. Why do you think Sarah Huckabee Sanders, like she said that Cole Jester had this legal experience and his loyalty and his deputy chief legal counsel and his ability to do a deep dive on law and craft conservative legal strategies, and is why she appointed Cole Jester, but it raised a lot of questions. He has a limited professional history. Like he's only 20, 27, 28 years old, no
Yeah.
experience in elections or administration or public management, and he's been in school most of his career. Like, And then what, 2 years is her legal counsel? Why would she appoint someone when before we had Mark Martin, former state rep, U.S. Navy, engineer, private sector leadership.
Yep.
We had Mark Martin. Then we had John Thurston, former Arkansas Commission of Lands, elected Secretary of State in 2018. He had administration and real estate background, but he had experience. Why someone with no experience?
I don't know. It seems that she wanted to pick younger people to surround herself with, be energized, I guess, maybe think outside the box, think things differently. That's all I know. I don't know. I have no
It
understanding of
just
it.
makes no sense. Like there's so many other people, like even Tea Party people who fought to get the state red, that have been left out of this whole thing. But there's so many other people that she could have appointed. Instead, she appointed a guy that didn't have no experience in any of it.
Yeah, I wish I knew.
So
I wish I knew. I know that the other individual who's running at what's his name? Christian. He's running for land commissioner as well. I've listened to him speak because we've been at similar areas throughout. He's pretty impressive. He's got experience in that office department. He's got experience in government. Checks all the blocks for what that job does, and he's passionate about it.
is he a Republican
He's
or a Democrat?
Republican.
I don't see Colchester going much further after all this, which is what I want to talk about next. The paper ballots.
Yeah.
What in the world is going on there? Why are they do they have such a problem with transparency?
I really do not get it at all, because when I retired from the Army, I was asked to join the Republican Party of Independence County, which I did. And one of the very first things that came up when our committee was looking for something to do was paper ballots. And I immediately saw the contentiousness of the issue. The opposition was very vitriolic about it. And that was repeated again at the first district meeting when they wanted to do a resolution to support paper ballots. And I just didn't understand it. And then there was a group that got together and said, hey, we want to do a petition in Independence County. We started down that process, and AVI, Colonel Conrad Reynolds, he actually reached out to us after we got started. And he was like, hey, I need to come down and give a chat with you because I want to make sure you guys are doing this right so you don't run into any legal troubles. And I was like, well, that's probably not a bad idea. And so he comes down and he gives us specific paper to use to get people to sign on it that's watermarked. And then he explains how everything's got to look, and because we just downloaded the petition title from the internet. And so we had to clean that up a little bit and get that one right. We got all that stuff in order. We went out and we went out in the heat and the rain and everything else and collected signatures and all over the place. And we got more than enough signatures that we needed. But it was always the local elected officials that were just coming after us. And during that time, they were doing stuff on social media and everything else against us. But we got the required signatures. And me being the type of person I was very organized about it. And every night I would collect all of the sheets, and then I would create a master Excel document sheet. I would scan all the petition sheets, signature sheets in, and save those. So I had a digital copy of every one of them. And then I created a master index that had every canvasser, all the sheet numbers that we assigned them, and how many signatures were on every sheet by date, time, and all that. I had it all grouped in there nice and clean. I printed that out, took all of the original copies of everything, and handed that into my clerk. And when I handed it to her, you could just kind of tell like she was upset about it. And I was like, okay, well, she doesn't like paper ballots. I didn't really dwell on it too much. And then very quickly, the turnaround was your petition's denied based on the title is insufficient. And I was like, the daggum title says the 2024 hand-marked and hand-counted paper ballot initiative. But during that process, I was like, I'm going to FOIA my county government and find out what's going on. So I did. And that FOIA produced some amazing results, some astounding results, honestly. There was email chains back and forth, and I'll see if I'm pulled up right here. I'm at my computer. In one of the email chains, it specifically laid out how they were going to negate these county petitions. And so the Arkansas Association of Counties, their attorneys was in direct communication with all of the 9 counties that were trying to do this petition. And they were telling them, okay, when they turn in their petition, you're going to declare it insufficient because they used out of state canvassers. And then when they appeal that and they win, which they will because Arkansas law allows for out of state canvassers for county petitions, then in 2026, we're going to attack the ballot title and declare it insufficient on the ballot title. And that'll give us 4 years to figure out how we're going to go about this. Well, Independence County threw a wrench in their plan because we didn't use out of state canvassers at all. And there was an email from the county clerk to the county attorney, Daniel Haney, that said, I'm afraid that our county petitioners did not use out of state canvassers, and it appears they have enough signatures. His response was immediate, and it says, we're going to have to attack the battle talent now then. And that's what she did. And so when we won at district court, they said, we're not gonna take this any farther. This is it. It'll be on the ballot, blah, blah, blah. Well, less than a week after that, we got notification that they were appealing it. And so we did an emergency request to go to the state Supreme Court, went to the state Supreme Court, and we won. It got on the ballot, and the overwhelming majority of Independence County people wanted it. And now I can tell you, as someone that's been dealing with this now for just over 2 years, when I would first go around, people were like, well, paper ballots, who cares, blah, blah, blah. Don't really care that much, being kind of agnostic about it. To now, it's flipped the script. Now, the vast majority of the people are vocal in support of paper ballots. And now I'm getting cheers in areas when I go and say I'm the candidate that supports hand-marked and hand-counted paper ballots. So it's completely flipped. All of their efforts and their fighting and people seeing through it. Their stuff just didn't make no sense. Like they said, it would cost more money. Well, Searcy County did it, and it saved money. It didn't cost more.
And we'll get into that when you get done telling us. So
Yeah.
what you're saying is they were premeditated, these responses? Like before anybody even filed for it? This is crazy. Because you think that they're trying to protect, who are they trying to protect with this? Like, what are they trying to, it just doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. I mean, I still have all the emails and documentations and stuff, and I can send that over to you.
Do valemmons@gmail.com because I did not know about this. That's crazy.
Yeah. There was a bunch of stuff in there, and the AAC is a 501c3 organization. And that was my complaint to the state legislature. I was like, why is a 501c3 organization getting involved and dictating what our elected officials are going to do at the county level? I would like someone to investigate that, but of course they haven't.
I will. That's insane. And I said this the other day when I was watching Colonel Conrad's interview with Paul Harrell. I posted on there, the people that know who. I mean, don't label me a conspiracy theorist because I'm just putting out here what everyone's thinking. The people that know who's cheating, if there's cheating going on, are the people that own those voting machines. And that's job security for them. And not one of the legislators is voting for paper ballots. That's crazy to me.
I have a big issue with that because what we have in Arkansas is we basically have a private company running our elections. And so they manufacture these machines with over 80% of the components manufactured in communist China. I got a problem with that. And then the private company then sells them to Arkansas, and this private company maintains them. They have to purchase the ballot images and programming from them every election cycle. And this private company is the only individuals authorized to conduct a security audit on the machines. And so because it's a private company, we as private citizens are not allowed to see what's going on inside that machine. We're not allowed to see the source code. We're not allowed to know the programming. We're not allowed to look inside the machine even because it's deemed proprietary knowledge and of a private company. So we have a transparency clause in the state constitution that says we're entitled to know. We have a capability to know, but yet we're not allowed to do so. Because it's a private company. So I have huge problems with that. I don't think that we should use machines in the first place, but we definitely should not be using machines that a private company is running everything. If we're going to use machines, they must be owned by the people of the state of Arkansas, thereby subject to FOIA.
Agree. Like that's just crazy that they're owned by, and it's hard to say who they're owned by because it's hard to find that information on a lot of these
Well, you can't. I tell everybody where I go, if you find out who is the name of the individual that owns ES&S, I will come back and take you to any dinner that you want because I've been looking, and I even
ESS.
ES&S. I even paid a private investigator to try to find out, and he couldn't. So
That's not something that okay, so
I paid for that out of my own pocket. That was from no one else. I paid for
so
that.
in that do you think that, how is election integrity? I mean, how close do you think that we're to losing public confidence?
We've already lost public confidence, and I'm reading a book right now. It's taken me a long time to read it because I get so angry when I read it. It's called Stolen Elections, and I'll see if I can get the author for you here in a minute. But in this book, there are whistleblowers from the CIA, from the FBI, from the NSA, from the State Department, and other government organizations telling exactly how elections have been stolen in the United States and 72 other nations around the world via electronic voting machines. And a lot of people in this book, it outlines and it proves that it was actually Hugo Chavez, the dictator from Venezuela, who procured the source code from Fidel Castro in Cuba and started the company Smartmatic and Dominion. And the source code that was done by Fidel Castro's government and then sold to Hugo Chavez is still the same source code in the machines.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's a great book. It's very troubling when you read it and you hear all these things. Like Frank Hoder, the guy that was he served in the CIA, and then he was a State Department resident, and he got pretty high up there. He's in prison now because of this stuff. So it's not like it's conspiracy theory quackery. There's people that's gone to jail over it. And
That's
then
what
these
they call it
whistleblowers.
when, you say, "Oh, there's nobody cheating." Come
Well, the thing about the machines is they've been designed and that's why they designed it this way, is because Hugo Chavez went to Castro and said, I'm going to lose an election. Um, and how am I going to figure this out? Well, they designed this software that so when people were voting, the algorithm could kick in and it could generate enough. And that's why you see in all these countries with dictators and stuff, how it's always a very, very close election. Like 47 to 53 or
like food
48,
example.
whatever. It's always really, really close. Well, it was designed. So the whole process was designed this way. You have early voting, and that allows them to see how many people are voting and the way that they're voting. And then on election day, they know how many votes they need to push them over the edge. And they can do that one of two ways. They can go out and start bussing voters in to get them to vote in the numbers that they need. So they are, because they know the number, they know how many they need, or they can produce the ballots and run them through the machine. And I tell people here in the States, like it does not have to be connected to the internet. Get that crap out of your head. It doesn't matter
Right.
if it's connected to the internet. For a statewide race in Arkansas, in order to steal it, you only need 20% of the vote manipulated in 7 counties. And those counties are our most populous counties. And that's Benton County, Washington County, Craighead County, Pulaski County, Faulkner County, Saline County, and Sebastian County. If you can sway 20% of the votes in those 7 counties, you can win a statewide race no matter what in perpetuity. And there's so many other vulnerabilities throughout the entire process of how we vote in Arkansas to where they can rig that process. And when they say, well, we audit and we've never failed an audit. Well, that's true. But if you look at what the law says, any state audit must be conducted in the same manner in which the original vote was taken. So what does that mean? That's a clever way of saying when you do an audit, you're going to run all the votes back through the machine again, because that's how the original vote was taken and counted.
Right.
So it's just the machine checking the machine again. So it's never going to, it's never not going to give itself 100%
There's
because
no
it's
paper
written the same
ballot.
way. Yeah. And there is no paper ballot. And what I tell people is what the audit cannot do is it cannot audit voter intent. Rasmussen did a poll and they discovered that the average American only spends 2.3 seconds looking at their ballot. And so when you're in one of those 7 major counties and you've got 30 different things that you voted on, how can you look at all of those and verify them in 2.3 seconds? You don't, because most people trust that the machine did it right and it printed it out. And you hear it every time. How many people say, I clicked this person, it didn't go through it, and they bring it up and they spoil the ballot and then give them another ballot? Well, the machine knows that this person's voting again. because they just spoiled that ballot. So then it knows, well, he caught me. I'm going to behave appropriately this time, and he'll get it right. And it'll just make its adjustment down the line. There's so many different ways, and it's designed to where you can never know, but you can't audit voter intent. So you don't know how many people got the wrong candidate printed off on that receipt and then ran it through the machine and never looked at it.
Because
You'll never know that.
QR code, first of all, you don't get
Yep.
but that's the thing about Liberty Votes. They bought Dominion. They're saying that they're gonna make sure we get paper ballots. That it's not just a QR code; it's all your vote on that paper ballot.
Yeah. We don't need any machines, in my
Right,
opinion.
right. And so, because the thing about that is that the person that has control of these machines is the incumbent, not the candidate
Well,
that's running against them.
exactly. And it's a machine is only as good as it's programmed. That's it. And if we don't know who the programmer is and it's not owned by the people of Arkansas, I don't care who owns it.
I'm sorry, but
I don't-
I'm calling it. There's some cheating going on, and we're just gonna have to. I'm just gonna have to figure it out. I'm sure something will happen next to me again. Don't worry.
Well, I tell people also, it's like, look, it doesn't have to be nefarious, but we created a
Oh, but it
vulnerability.
is. It's nefarious.
Yeah.
There's no
Because
way around it. There's no the excuses that they give. They don't make any sense.
true, but I don't have proof of that. But what I will say is, I know that an adversarial nation is manufacturing a lot of the components in these machines.
Right.
And we know for a fact that this nation has also infiltrated our electric grid and our communications infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
So why would they not also inject themselves into our electronic voting machines? I mean, there's nothing better that the communist Chinese could do than to make all Americans distrust their elections
But
and
you
have
say there's nothing
chaos.
nefarious about that. But I'm sorry, treason is nefarious. And if people are allowing this to happen,
If it,
that's
it
nefarious.
if it's an adversarial nation, is it treason though?
Well, it is if people are literally preempting your petition.
Yeah.
Yes, that's nefarious. That's first degree. Like if you're talking about murder, you planned it.
Yeah. Well, I hope and pray that people's not doing that.
So, but if you find a wrongdoing, so like if you get elected Secretary of State, or when you get elected, because I believe you know what you're talking about, and I believe that you have the experience.
Well, thank
But do you handle it? If you find evidence of wrongdoing, do you handle it quietly, or do you make it public? And what's the first?
No, it has to be public because everyone has to know. I mean, we've got too much quiet stuff going on in that respect, and that's part of the problem. Everything needs to be made public on things like this,
Right.
so that people know exactly what's happening.
So, what's the
It's,
investigation, the audit that you'll do in like in the first 100 days?
well, again, you can't audit voter intent. So if you don't know what every ballot being pushed into the machine is reflected appropriately, how can you actually do an audit? You can't. So what I would like to have happen is have someone in those polling locations asking everyone to please review your ballot up and down. Take 10 seconds and just look it over thoroughly before you put it into the tabulator. Because that's going to be the only metric to where you can ensure that the voter's intent is reflected appropriately. And if there's something wrong, you can correct it then.
You know what I'm
But then
thinking though?
you also have the issue of the barcode.
There's also
So
something else we could do. I'm sorry, it just
with
came
that,
to my mind, squirrel. We could set up a website where people take a picture and a screenshot of their vote. It's
oh, I,
it.
I already recommend everyone to do that.
But they're just holding on to that we don't get counted. So how do we use that as a backup? Like we need to create like
Well,
a website where everyone can upload and so then they can be counted like that. If they don't want to do paper ballots, then hell, let's do it.
yeah, I don't know if you can legally do that because you're supposed to have voter anonymity. So I don't think that you can have a government official requesting people to take a picture of their ballot and load it on.
I'm talking about grassroots.
Yeah, but then you got to get buy-in
Grass-
from a whole bunch of people, right? The only way to really get around it is to use President Trump's executive order and say, based on all this information and elections are critical infrastructure, we cannot use machines. I cannot certify one of these machines because the federal government has told us that they're vulnerable because of the components being manufactured outside the United States.
To me, that's crazy that she's going against President Trump. Like, do you feel that it was a bait and switch on her part? Like, everyone voted for her because of Trump, and now she's, like, literally going against what he wants?
Uh, again, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense.
Right.
I I don't get it. I wish I could be a fly on the wall and hear it all, but unfortunately, I'm not able to do that. And looking at it from a distance, I don't know. I I wish I did.
So who do you think's accountable for restoring, like, integrity? Like, the Secretary of State's office or the governor or the people?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, enough people got to get upset about it and just too big to rig like Trump did. I believe that there was such a turnout for President Trump that there was no way they could rig it again after like they did in 2020. So that's one aspect of it. But Arkansas has one of the lowest voter turnouts. We're going into a primary that's always a low voter turnout. So I wish that it would change. And I understand where they're coming from because they don't trust the process. So they don't feel like their vote counts or matters, which as a service member, that really bothers me.
So
I wish I
what would
could
you say
never hear
to
it.
those Arkansans who turned out and maybe they've given up now and they think their vote don't matter anymore?
Well, your vote always matters because it's the intent behind the vote of it exercising the right that people have given the ultimate sacrifice for. So even if there is something nefarious, you did your part, right? You participated in a process that millions of people fought and died for you to have. So that's number one. Number two, you only lose when you stop fighting. And by not going and vote and participate in the process, you're guaranteed to lose. And I tell people, even when you don't vote, you still are voting because a no vote is a vote for the status quo. That's actually what they want you to do. They want you to stay at home. So there's a smaller number, smaller pool of people to deal with. And then they can control the outcome a little bit better because it's more predictable. Because all their friends are going to go and vote. Everybody they want to go and vote is going to go vote.
Right. What do you say to the people that are gonna sit the governors and, they're like, "I'm not voting," so they're just gonna not vote, and, the Democrats, to me, if that happens, the Democrats win again. Like, it's and that's the problem I see with Sanders. I think so many people are so frustrated, they can't bring themselves to vote for her, and so they're just gonna sit it out, and then Democrats are gonna win.
Well, could be. I I definitely think that there's going to be some prizes. I think that Holly Schaffner that's running against Tom Cotton.
Yeah.
I think people are asleep on that race, and
They think that Tom's number 3 and the communications director of the GOP now, and they think
Mhm.
he can't, lose. But, I was looking at his page last night? No, night before that. No, maybe it was last night. I'm sorry. Everything runs together. But he posted on his own page a post, and somebody commented on that post, "Vote for Haley Schaffner." And I'm telling you, 103 people liked it, 9 people loved it, and, another 9 laughed about it. Like, that's on his own page. I think people are asleep, like you just said, on this election.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll actually be able to pull it off and beat him, but I think she's gonna get a large number. And Sarah Sanders is gonna win again. I mean, it's kind of written.
So, I don't think so. I think that she's gonna be a one term. That's my prediction, and that's from now, 'cause I just don't think you can't put everything she's done back. You can't right those wrongs. She's
Yeah, but
too much.
I still think there's enough people out there that's gonna vote for her.
I don't know. From what I've looked at, I've literally the pulse of the people that I've looked at when I put the article about the Civil War up. 40,000 people checked it out in the first 3 days. And when it was shared, I went to the post that where it was shared, and
Mm.
everyone on there, and these people aren't Democrats. They're I voted for her and I will never vote for her again. And there was only maybe out of 200 people, there's only 2 that said, I support Sarah Huckabee Sanders. That is the pulse. And that's what people need to be looking at. It is not polls. I just think that there's something going on there why you don't want to be transparent.
I think if we get hand marked and hand counted paper ballots, we definitely have a chance. If we don't, I think they can control it. I think that's a possibility.
So what do you have? So on the last one last question, what is one promise that you make to Arkansas voters when you get elected?
Well, there's there's multiple I can give you, but okay. Well, when it comes to elections, I'm going to advocate the legislative still makes the laws, but I'm going to advocate for a hand marked and hand counted paper ballot movement through the state and that we go that way. And I will push for that and use my influence to get that across the finish line as much as possible. I also want to clean up the EPO books and get away from the EPO books and get our PO books separated or figured out, cleaned up, and be appropriately, because that's another way to a way to cheat as well. Streamlining and understanding exactly who is eligible to vote and who isn't eligible to vote, and make sure that that's represented appropriately, and ensure that we think outside the box when it comes to elections. Like we've got to have more precincts and smaller precincts, which is going to take more people. And I would advocate for the legislature to pass a law that says if you volunteer and you go to work for elections, you cannot be fired from your job. So that's one of the biggest reasons why people don't volunteer for elections is they're like, I love my country, but I also love my vacation time, and I don't want to spend it sitting at a poll book, sitting at a computer, or watching people vote. I'd rather go to Florida. I can't blame them for that. And so if we take away that opportunity and we say you can volunteer, you can serve in elections, and your job cannot be removed for you, there's precedence for that. Jury duty is one, and National Guard members enjoy the same protections. It's a civil service, so why not protect it like we do with jury duty and National Guard? And then the other thing that I promise everyone is as much transparency as possible. On day one, I'm going to remove the door from the Secretary of State's office. And that sends a signal to everyone out there that any meeting that you have with me is going to be on the record, so that you know everything that's going on inside my office. The only things that the Secretary of State does that would need to be secure in nature deal with the protection of the Capitol building and the things that the Capitol Police do, because they fall underneath the Secretary of State's office. And so I think people would appreciate and understand that it's proper that I don't take meeting minutes of those activities and publish those and all that stuff.
Right.
But
There's a
other,
degree of privacy
other
there needed.
yeah. And, it's important to secure our legislatures and visitors when they come to the Capitol and the governor and all that stuff. But everything else needs to be wide open, 100% wide open. I also want to make it easier to access the Capitol for private citizens by giving them reserved parking spots and having the Capitol Police run tags. And if they're registered with a lobbyist or if they're an elected official of some kind and they're parked in one of those spots, then we tow their vehicle. I also want to have a reserved seating area in the front row of every meeting room inside the Capitol building for the same people, and have
Love
the
it. So people take precedent over lobbyists and
well, the
I love it.
dynamics, the power dynamics begin to shift, right? Because access and
Exactly.
influence is power. And so think of it this way: if you're telling your elected representative how you want them to vote on something, and then you get to the Capitol, you can get into the room very easily, and then you have a front row seat directly looking at the individual about to vote, and he
Right.
knows how you feel about it.
Like a
That
courtroom.
changes, yeah, that changes the dynamics of the relationship a little bit. So I want to give that power back to the people.
I love it.
Also, I don't know if this is happening, but if it is, if there's any meeting space in any Capitol grounds at all, any of the buildings that the Capitol, that the people of Arkansas own that are under the auspice of the Secretary of State's office, if any of that space is being used by lobby firms or lobbyists, no longer will it be allowed. Like they're American citizens. They have a right to lobby their government. They have a right to represent whoever they want to as they lobby, but you will not use taxpayer floor space. You will not use taxpayer electricity. You will not use taxpayer furniture to conduct your business and do your thing.
Do
You're
so
going to have, you're
like
going to have to go.
in DC, you're allowed to rent rooms. Is that I never thought about that. In the Capitol, are we allowed to just put in our name and have the room?
I don't know. I have no idea, but I will not allow anyone that represents a lobby or is registered as a lobby to be able to have a space.
That's awesome.
But I'm just not going to do it. When it comes to the Capitol grounds, one of the things I want to see also is the Veterans Hall of Fame moved into a pride of place position so that everybody can see it. They moved it from the treasurer's office up to the fourth floor of the rotunda where hardly anybody ever
Nobody
goes.
goes up there.
Yeah, and they broke it while they were moving it up there. So I want to restore that, bring it back to an area of prominence and pride and place where everybody can see it.
Put it on the floor. Like the only people that go up there is Dave when we're
Yeah,
recording, like live
and
or doing live, and like, nobody goes up there.
another thing with the Capitol grounds is beautification of it. Like, we're trying to solve a 3-dimensional problem with a 2-dimensional product. And there's only so much land down there available for parking.
Right.
And so you got 2 options, build up or build down. And I don't want to build up because I think parking garages and towers are ugly. I would very much love to see the state allocate funding to build underground parking that gives access from the entirety of the underground to the Capitol building, to the Secretary of State's office, to the, to every state government building down there. Very easy access via tunnels from the parking spot to get in and out of. And then those parking lots that were on the surface area can be turned into memorials, green spaces for picnics, beautification, make it representative of our state instead of what it looks like now, which is just a bunch of blacktop parking lots with oil stains and graffiti and stuff everywhere. Like, get that cleaned up. And then when it comes to business, I have a lot that I want to focus on with business. My thing is I want to help create generational wealth for the state, because our children are going to be looking at some very difficult times in the future. The run rate on the cost of housing and just the cost of living is not going to slow down. It's going to continue to increase, and wages are not going to keep up with it. So we have to increase the opportunities for people to thrive and not just survive in this state, because otherwise they're going to leave. They're going to go where the opportunities are. Texas, California, wherever the opportunities are, they're going to go to. We can't really blame them. So I want to solve that. And by doing that, you need to meet people where they are. Over 90% of the employers in the state are small business owners. So I want to, every 3 months, I want to identify at least one business owner in every county and have them meet me somewhere and do hot washes with them. Like, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? How can we improve?
Right.
And then take those lessons learned back, figure it out, and find out a way to meet them where they are, because the Delta is different than Southwest Arkansas. It's different than Northwest Arkansas, and Northwest is different than Central Arkansas. So we need to realize their environment and meet them where they are and give them what they need to be successful. One of the very first things for business that I want to do is I want to appoint an independent third-party auditing agency to come in and do a Doge-style audit of everything underneath the Secretary of State. With one caveat, I want them to identify everything that is not codified in law. And then I'm going to take that they've identified that's not codified in law, and I'm going to vet and make sure with the attorneys at the Secretary of State's office that it is not codified in any law. And once I get confirmation from the attorneys that it's not codified in law, it goes away. We will not enforce it. We will not engage with it. We will not do anything with it. And I'm going to tell the legislature, if you want to do this, you're going to have to pass a law and be held accountable to your constituents.
I see your stance as strict constitutionalist.
Yes. Well, I mean, the people on the government, we're employees of the people. That's what it is. And I want to change the culture in the Secretary of State's office to be a customer service oriented structure, because that's what they need to realize. Like, your customer is your employer as well.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to treat them accordingly. You got to do the work. And if people there don't want to change and adapt to the culture, thank you for your service. We'll find someone that will.
I completely agree. And I think those are great points. I want to thank you for coming on and talking with me today, Bryan. And we'll have you back on. Next time we'll do video once I get that all worked out.
Absolutely.
But appreciate.
And what was your email again so I can send you that stuff?
Val Emmons, VALEMMONS @gmail.com. For anybody out there that has a tip, also go ahead and shoot me a tip. And do you want to give everyone yours again for your donation support?
It's bryannorris.org. That's BRYANNORRIS.org.
Okay. Well, Bryan, we'll be talking. I know there's a lot going on running up to the election, so we'll be talking.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.